Good morning. We are here at Skyview Missionary Baptist Church with Pastor Wendell Horton, and we have some questions about dealing with this pandemic and churches and the future of churches. And Brother Wendell, will you introduce yourself to us?
Well, my name is Wendell Horton. I'm the senior pastor here at Skyview Missionary Baptist Church. Just celebrated 25 years here at my home church. It's January the 20th, 2021.
All right. Tell me, Pastor Wendell, when this pandemic first started, what were the first steps that your church began to do back, I believe probably last March?
Well, when they were told that the churches would shut down, I gathered the staff together and just said, look, we're going to stay on the missions. That's going to be our priority. Nothing's changed. Our mission is still a great commission. It's going to look different, but however the Lord leads, we're going to stay on task. We're not going to give up, give ground. Again, we didn't know what it would look like, but I knew that we just have to stay on missions.
All right. And let me ask you a question. The church responded how last March? When did you stop, and what were you doing in replacing church services?
Okay, we went to, first of all, a Facebook Live, which we had never done. So we had to get all the technology in place, equipment in place to do that. And we found out that was a big hit for our people. We had a lot of people every Sunday watching, so we constantly kept improving that as far as service went on Sunday morning. Now, eventually, in the last several months, we've got a FM radio transmitter now where we can play the service out in the parking lot. And so we're doing that, all three services also.
Great. Now, did you see a significant drop off in people watching? Did you lose folks over this? A lot of folks, a lot of pastors, I think, are worried that they have lost people through this.
For us, it's too soon to gauge that. Now, looking at the numbers there back in March and throughout the summer, we opened back up middle of May when they allowed it. We had 3 times as many people watching our service online that ever come to church. So, we would run close to 400, and sometimes, some Sundays, there was 800 to 1,200 people by the end of the week that actually viewed our service. So, numbers-wise, we increased the people that we were reaching. Now, as far as, again, it's just too early to tell who we've lost. It's just.
What about offerings?
That was something that I was really surprised by. Immediately, I called our deacons together on a Zoom call and laid out a plan to cut our budget of $4,000 a month. It made sense. I worked with the staff. Gary here, my associate's a financial person, so we had that laid out. The men said, well, let's just wait and see what the giving does. In my mind, I thought the giving would just plummet. It did not. In actuality, it went up to some degree, but still held well. So I was pleasantly surprised by that.
Let's just say I'm a new pastor and I'm going through this. And what did you use for people to give? I mean, they couldn't come to church at the beginning, so did they just mail the checks in? What?
Mail the check in, and again, some of the changes we had to make because of this, we immediately set up online giving, something we didn't have before. We knew that's something that a lot of the, especially younger folks, were accustomed to. They would do. So we got that up going and mailing checks. And then when we did start back, because of the touches, we just set a bucket at the front and back, and that's what we'll probably do when things get back to normal. That just worked well. It saves time, So that's how we did it.
Well, tell me about the side. I mean, the church service on Facebook Live and in the parking lot, FM station. and you met in person with social distancing and masks and so forth for a while. But Sunday school classes or discipleship classes or those other side deacons meetings,
Right.
How did those things take place?
Okay, there was a little while before we started back small groups, even though the church did great by the COVID protocol. We followed all the guidelines, the cleaning, social distancing, masks. The church did great. After a few weeks, we allowed, I guess is not the best word, but any of the adult classes that wanted to start back could with social distancing. We measured the rooms, we know how many people each room could, according to the CDC guidelines, could have in there. So some started back, some did not. Some went to Zoom meetings, and some are still doing that. Some, like the senior citizen class and another or two, have chosen not to come back yet. So, and then after several weeks, we put back in the children's Sunday schools, youth Sunday schools, and then introduced our nursery and toddlers and those services back at the 9:45 service, because that was a service that we have worship and Sunday school, so the kids would have somewhere to go. So that's kind of how it, as far as the deacons meeting, we do that all by Zoom call, yeah, that's how we handle those meetings.
So right now, though, you met back, but then you pulled back because of different cases in
Yes.
your church, and tell me what's going on right now.
Okay. We met in person from the middle of May to the middle of November, and then there got the COVID pandemic in our area just really spiked. A lot of it from the Thanksgiving get-togethers, that type of thing, and we felt like the safest thing for us to do in the short term, just to honor our local hospitals who were at capacity and beyond, our local health department, to show ourselves a good citizen in the community. I felt like we needed to stop in-person worship for a while and let the numbers calm back down. We didn't want to add to their workload by meeting, even though I know how important that is. I know how the people want to be together. During this time, we need social interaction more than ever, but we felt like that was the best thing to do for our church. We will start back in person on January 31st.
Okay, good. Now, what do you think long-term lessons learned are? What is it that you think your church and most churches should learn from this pandemic?
I guess that's kind of hard to answer, but you can still do missions without meeting in person. Now, some people have got to come together. We had a large number of ladies immediately started making masks, face shields. There for a while we looked like a mask and face shield factory, because that's something we can do and meet needs. We had Red Cross blood drives. We hosted them here at the church. Anything we could find to meet a need. The Farmers to Family Food Drive, we was the Carroll County distribution for that. I heard about it, talked to them, what's it take for us to get those food boxes in Carroll County? We need a place to distribute. I said, you got it, we'll do it. So I guess in a lot of ways, we met more needs, was more about missions than ever before. So I guess my words would be the same words I had in March. Stay on task. Stay on mission. It may look different. It may feel different. And I think sometimes you have to swallow your pride a little bit. I'm a numbers guy. I mean, I look at numbers all the time. If you look at your numbers now, you might be discouraged or disappointed. But when you look at the church meeting the needs of the people, it could be the church's finest hour. So I just say stay on task.
Now, what changes will your church keep in place once this pandemic's over?
Okay.
What are things you think you've learned and will continue to institute?
Well, I think what this pandemic's done for a lot of churches and pastors is you've had to lay aside some things, some ministries that you may not need to resurrect. It's a good time maybe to have a fresh start. Our order of service looks different. It's a little bit faster paced. We will always do a Facebook Live service because that just meets a great need. We have people that all over the country used to come here. Their families been told about it. I mean, multiple states are with us on Sunday morning, so we see that's a great need. The online giving is growing every month, so that'll always be there. Yeah, I think for us, it brought us up to date maybe with technology, made us look more like the culture around us. So all those things we'll keep, and again, you may reevaluate a lot of these ministries and see if they are really, truly necessary, or is there something else that's more up to date that meets more needs that we may need to pursue.
Before this, we talked briefly about the sad situation of not visiting hospitals and so forth. What have you learned about trying to meet those type of needs?
Okay, from the March, I met with the staff, and I said, here's what we're going to do there. We are not allowed in the hospitals. We can't meet. We're going to stay on that phone. We have called through our members list, I don't know how many times. And you're talking now 600-700 people. Hundreds and hundreds of phone calls. Every day we're making phone calls. If somebody comes on the prayer list, we're calling them, we're checking on them. Somebody having surgery, text, phone calls. So that's it's been our only avenue, but we have really pursued it and stayed with it.
That's probably going to stay true even when you start meeting back again, right?
Yes, to some degree, yeah.
Good. What else? What other comments would you make to pastors that are going through this, and some words of encouragement to them to kind of conclude today?
Well, I would get my eyes off the numbers, and for a pastor, sometimes that's hard to do. We're counting how many's at church, how many's in Sunday school, that type of thing. But your ministry may be greater than numbers. So I wouldn't get discouraged right now. And I would say every pastor knows Satan is using this as a very divisive time. There's all type of opinions on masks, on the shot, theories, and we are called to pastor everybody on every end of the spectrum. Don't let that discourage you. You stay on task. You love them no matter where they are. You appreciate them as individuals and made in the image of God, and just keep your focus on God. Follow Him. Let the Spirit lead you. I've felt I've been more on my knees in prayer than I ever have, and that's something. I'm a man of action, but that's been good for me, really, to slow me down a little bit and bring me to my knees and depend more on Him. So just depend on Him.
Amen. Well, I want to thank you for your time today and the opportunity to share some thoughts with us. Thank you so much. Any last word you want to give us before we sign off?
Well, again, just hang in there. I know this is hard. It's been hard on us here, but we'll get through it together. We're all going through the same thing, so don't feel like you're on the island. I would encourage you to gather some pastors around you, some people you can call and encourage one another. And that's been a great comfort to me.
Amen. Well, thank you very much, Pastor. God bless you.
Thank you.